There is a bowl that used to sit on the counter in black kitchens across America, cloudy white water with a handful of rice soaking in it, and nobody looked at it twice. It cost nothing. It was going to be poured over somebody's hair by the weekend, and that cloudy bowl of water grew hair thicker and longer than the shelf of $40 bottles in your bathroom ever has. You have a growth serum, a bond builder, a strengthening mask, a leave-in, and a scalp treatment. 5 products, each promising the one thing that bowl of rice water did by itself. And the women who used it weren't guessing. They were doing what their mothers did and their mothers before them. Nobody taught you what they knew about that bowl. Not because it was a secret, because the women who knew it stopped being asked. And rice is pennies. You cannot build a fortune selling a bowl of rice water, so the industry bottled what it did, renamed it, marked it up 30 times, and let the original disappear back into the kitchen where you'd stop looking for it. 14 ways they used it. Every one still works exactly the way it did in 1955 because rice hasn't changed and neither has your hair. Number 1 is not a method at all. It's the reason the whole thing worked and the one the industry most needed you to forget. Before number 14, subscribe, because this is exactly the kind of knowledge this channel exists to bring back. Then let's begin. Number 14, the basic rinse, the very last step of wash day. After she washed and conditioned, the very last thing before wrapping her hair was the rice water, poured slow over the whole head, worked through with her fingers from scalp to ends, left a few minutes, then rinsed with cool water. That was it. The cloudy water carries inositol, a compound that soaks into the hair shaft and stays there even after you rinse. It keeps working, coating, and strengthening each strand from the inside so it stops snapping. It carries amino acids that rebuild the weak places and B vitamins and minerals that feed the strand. One rinse once a week, and the hair came away stronger, smoother, and heavier every single time. Now, before I give you number 13, I have to stop and tell you something. These 14 methods are the ones I could fit into one video, but there are more. Every ratio, every timing, every way these women mixed and brewed and applied this water, along with the other pantry remedies that grew their hair down their backs, written down plainly so you can start tonight. I've gathered all of it into one book, The Forgotten Shelf, the beauty wisdom they took from our grandmothers. It's not a subscription, nothing to sign up for, nothing to buy every month. It's the knowledge in your hands once, the way it used to be passed down at the kitchen table. The link is right below this video in the description. And if there's a woman in your life fighting her hair and losing a mother, a sister, a friend, spending a fortune on serums that aren't working, get it for her too. She needs it more than she knows. Now, let's keep going. Number 13, the fermented version, stronger by far. The women who really knew let the rice water sit. Instead of using it fresh, they'd cover the bowl and leave it out a day or two until it turned faintly sour and started to ferment. And that fermented water was the powerful one. Fermentation lowers the water's pH closer to the hair's own, so it doesn't swell and rough up the strand the way plain water can. And it multiplies the vitamins and the beneficial compounds the rice releases. The result was a rinse that strengthened harder and left more shine. It smelled sharp for a minute, then it was gone, and the hair that came out of it was noticeably tougher against breakage. They didn't have the word fermented. They just knew the bowl that had sat a while worked better. Number 12. 2 ways to make it, the soak and the boil. There wasn't one recipe, there were 2, and every household had its preference. The soak, a half cup of rice covered in water, left to sit until the water went cloudy, then strained. The boil, the starchy water left over from cooking the rice for dinner, cooled down and saved. The soak gave a lighter water for regular use. The boiled starch water was thicker and richer, save for the deep treatments. Nothing was wasted. The water she'd have poured down the drain after cooking rice became the treatment for her daughter's hair on Saturday. Both worked, because both carried the same inositol and amino acids into the strand. She used whichever the week gave her. Number 11, the timing, long enough, but never too long. She knew not to leave it on forever. 10, maybe 20 minutes, worked through and then rinsed. Rice water is, in its way, a protein treatment. And the women who understood it understood that more is not better. Left on too long, too often, protein can make hair stiff and brittle instead of strong. So she left it just long enough to do its work and rinsed it clean. This is the part most people get wrong today, drenching their hair for hours and wondering why it went hard. She had the touch, enough to strengthen, never so much that it turned against her. A short soak, a good rinse, and the hair came out strong and supple, not stiff. Number 10, rice water brewed with herbs. The bowl didn't always hold just rice. She'd steep it with what the yard and the pantry offered, a sprig of rosemary, a little sage, a bag of black tea, and let their strength join the rice waters. Rosemary drives blood to the scalp and has been studied for hair growth in its own right. The tea adds caffeine that helps hold the hair in, and together with the rice water's strengthening, one rinse did 3 jobs at once. It was layered knowledge, built up over generations, not one trick, but a stack of them, poured from the same jar. The hair got fed, strengthened, and stimulated in a single step, from a brew that cost a handful of rice and a few leaves. Number 9, the scalp treatment. She didn't only pour it over the length, she worked the rice water into the scalp itself, massaging it in with the pads of her fingers, part by part, before she rinsed. The scalp is where hair is made, and the vitamins and amino acids in the rice water feed the follicle directly, while the massage drives blood, and blood is food, to the root. A fed, stimulated scalp grows thicker, stronger hair, and grows back the thin spots over time. It was the same water, aimed at the source instead of the strand. The women who worked it into the scalp weekly had density at the crown that lasted into old age. Number 8, the edges. The fine, fragile hair at the hairline and the temples, the first to thin, the first to break, got the rice water too, patted gently into the edges and left. The same strengthening and follicle feeding that thickened the length worked on the delicate edges where the hair is finest and the loss shows first. Handled gently and fed weekly, the edges held and filled back in. Full edges were not luck, and they were not genetics alone. They were a bowl of rice water and a careful hand every wash day for years. Number 7, the detangler, slip from the starch. Before the comb ever went through, the rice water helped it move. The starch in the water coats each strand and gives it slip so the comb glides through the tangles instead of catching and ripping them out. And breakage from combing is one of the biggest reasons hair never gets long. Every strand torn out by a dry comb is length lost. The rice water let the tangles release instead of tear, so the hair kept what it grew. Less pain for the child on the floor, less hair in the comb, more length staying on the head. If you're finding this useful, and there's a woman in your life who'd want it too, your mother, your sister, a friend who's tried every bottle on the shelf, take 1 second and hit the like button right now. It puts this video in front of her. She needs it more than she knows. Then stay, because the last few methods are the ones that matter most. Number 6, the spritz between washes. She didn't save it all for wash day. A little rice water kept in a jar became a light spritz through the week, misted onto the hair to refresh it, soften it, and give it a shot of strength between washes. It kept the strand conditioned and flexible so it wouldn't dry out and snap in the days between washes, when hair is most often neglected and most often breaking. A quick mist, a smooth down, and the hair stayed strong and soft all week instead of going brittle by Wednesday. They sell strengthening mists and refresh sprays for this now. Hers lived in a jar in the icebox. Number 5, the strengthening treatment for hair that kept breaking. When the hair was weak, snapping, shedding, refusing to gain length, the rice water was the fix, used as a focused treatment rather than a quick rinse. This is where the inositol earns its name. It doesn't just coat the outside, it penetrates the strand and repairs it from within, and it stays inside the hair even after rinsing. So the strengthening keeps working for days. Hair that had been fragile and breaking got tougher, more elastic, able to bend without snapping. And hair that stops snapping is hair that finally holds its length. The women whose hair reached down their backs were not growing it faster than everyone else. They were losing far less of it because it was too strong to break. Number 4, the balance. She never leaned on protein alone. Here's the trick that separated the women who knew from the women who didn't. She never used rice water by itself and called it done. She followed it or alternated it with moisture, a good conditioner, a little oil, whole water. Because rice water strengthens, and strength without moisture makes hair hard and prone to snapping, the very thing you were trying to prevent. The women who got long hair understood the balance instinctively. Strengthen, then moisturize. Protein, then softness. It was never rice water alone. It was rice water in its right place, followed by the moisture that kept the hair supple. That balance is the whole secret, and it's the part almost everyone skips. Number 3, she sealed it in. After the rice water and the moisture came the last step, a light oil, castor, or coconut smoothed over the hair to seal everything in. The oil traps the strength and the moisture inside the strand where it keeps working instead of letting it dry out into the air by afternoon. This is the order that made hair stay soft and strong for days. Rice water to strengthen, moisture to soften, oil to seal. Each step held the one before it. The hair came off wash day, conditioned all the way through and stayed that way until the next one. They've turned this into a whole product line now, a bottle for each step. She did it with a bowl, a conditioner, and a spoon of oil. Number 2, length retention, the whole point of all of it. Here's the thing the whole list was quietly built around. Hair grows about ½ an inch a month for almost everyone. That part isn't the secret. The secret is keeping what you grow. Length is not won at the root. It's lost at the ends to breakage and dryness and rough handling faster than it can grow. Everything the rice water did, the strengthening, the slip, the sealing, the balance, served one goal: stop the breakage, so the inches finally add up instead of snapping off at the bottom. The women whose hair reached their waists weren't growing more hair than you. They were losing almost none of it. That is how a bowl of rice water grew hair down a back, not by growing faster, but by holding on. When I started pulling this together, I expected to find some rare secret we'd lost, some ingredient too exotic to survive. That is not what I found. What I found was a bowl of rice water and a set of patient hands. Not one method on this list required a laboratory, a subscription, or a single specialty bottle. It required rice, water, and the willingness to do it every week without quitting. And it was buried for the simplest reason there is: you cannot patent rice water. No company can own it or mark it up the way they mark up the serums. A bowl that costs pennies and strengthens, detangles, seals, and grows hair down the back is a disaster for an industry that needs you buying a different bottle for every one of those jobs. So they bottled its uses one at a time, sold them back at $30 each, and let the bowl disappear. Number one is where that lands hardest. Number one, it was never the rice water, it was the ritual and the woman who handed it down. This is not a method. It's the thing that made all 13 of the others work. Rice water does nothing sitting in a bowl. Every result on this list, the strength, the length, the thickness, the full edges, came from one thing and one thing only: doing it consistently, week after week, for months and years, without expecting a miracle by Friday. The women who got hair down their backs were not the ones with the best product. They were the ones who soaked the rice every week and put in the time. The rice water was never the magic. The consistency was the magic. The rice just made the consistency cheap enough that anyone could keep it up forever. And she did not figure it out alone. The bowl and the knowing of how to use it, how long to soak, when to ferment, how much to leave on, when to follow with moisture, came down to her from her own mother and her mother's mother, at a kitchen sink and a bowl on the counter. She sat her daughters down between her knees and poured it over their hair the way it had been poured over hers. An unbroken line of women, passing one cheap, humble bowl of water and everything it could do, hand to hand, generation to generation. That is what was taken. Not the rice. You can still buy the rice tonight for almost nothing. What was taken was the line. The industry stepped into the space between the mother and the daughter and said, "You don't need her old bowl of water. You need our new serums, a different one for every problem." And the bowl went back in the cupboard, and the ritual went quiet, and generations of knowing how to grow hair from a handful of rice began to disappear, one kitchen at a time. That woman grew old with hair still long and thick and strong, and when her granddaughter went looking for the secret, there was no secret to find, just a memory of a cloudy bowl on the counter, and her grandmother's hands pouring it slow over her hair on a Saturday, telling her, "This is all you'll ever need." And she understood, standing there, exactly what had almost been lost. The 14 methods in that one bowl cost less across a whole year than a single one of the bottles they'll sell you now. None required a subscription. None required a different jar for every problem. None required believing that your hair, the way it grows out of your own head, was ever the problem that needed a shelf of products to fix. What changed between her kitchen and yours was not what hair needs. That has not changed. What changed was who got paid when we forgot what a bowl of rice water could do. So go, make it. A handful of rice, a bowl of water, and a little patience. Pick the method that fits your hair, pour it over your head this week, and do it every week for the next 2 months. Then come back to the comments and tell me what your hair did. And tell me one more thing while you're down there. Did your mother or your grandmother ever rinse her hair with rice water or anything from the kitchen? What did she use? Who put it in your hands? I read every single comment. The next video's ready. I'll see you there.